Is a car loan for 72 months an awful idea? Yeah, it is, but let's read it into this. Hi, I was approved for a $25,000 car loan with a 5.875% APR for 72 months. This was with a credit union. I'm planning to use this to get a 2023 Honda Civic. I've never bought a car before, so I don't really understand what's a good or bad deal. I think I need to get a lower amount of months, but honestly, I don't know what I'm doing. Is this a bad idea that will haunt me for 72 months? Any advice or comment would be helpful. So here's the thing, there's a lot of issues with doing something like this, right? One, this person didn't put their income or their debt that they already have, etc. But 72 months for a car loan is horrendous. The amount of interest that you'd be paying would be insane. Your car payment would be insane. Your car is not going to go up in value. Like, this is horrible. Like, you're basically asking yourself to pretty much be a slave for the next 72 months to a big corporation. That ain't that ain't good. Now here's the thing. I don't know what this person makes, but if you are wanting to go and get a car, buy a car cash. Right? Here's the thing. I definitely personally believe that everyone should basically be getting out of debt just because it improves your amount of cash flow per month like crazy. It gives you so much freedom. And if you want to learn how to get out of debt, go down below. But the thing is, I'm not against people utilizing debt to potentially make more money, right? So, for example, getting like a loan for a home that will appreciate in value, I'm not going to be, put off by that. But getting into debt for a car that will only go down in value, because this isn't like enough money to get like a really pristine, nice, like investment car, right? Where it's like super rare and people really want to buy that car. You're basically getting a brand new, commonplace car that is just going to go burn in valuation to like the depths of hell, basically. And here's the thing, Honda Civics can last for a very long time. But this individual could probably just buy a Honda Civic in cash, like a really cheap Honda Civic. Because here's the thing, if you're buying a Honda Civic, you're pretty much only buying a Honda Civic for like one purpose, to get from like point A to point B. Like, it's not like you're trying to buy like a Honda S2000, which is like a car lover's dream car, well, to some people. Like, you're trying to get a Honda Civic. Like, think about it. Let's see some of these comments. But yeah, don't go down this route. Don't go into debt for a car. Like, this is such a bad financial choice. Like, go buy a car that you can afford. You can't afford this car. Like, if you got to take a loan out for the car, you can't afford it. Because I don't think this person even really understands. Because, like, again, this is like they've never bought a car before, right? So they don't really understand the cost of insurance. They don't really understand the cost of maintenance. They probably don't even understand just how tight their actual per month income versus expenses will actually be after everything's said and done, right? And not to mention, you could literally just have like people go into your car and damage your car without you even realizing it. Like, it could just be friends, family, whatever. You might drop something, you might be eating something inside your car and just drop something, and there you go. Decrease in value of your car right then and there if you dropped it on like, I don't know, I don't know, maybe coffee on some sort of electronics. But yeah, this ain't good. I would definitely not do this. I want to see if he ends up like putting anything about his income or something down here. Let's see. You don't post anything about your income or other expenses. Do you have a budget, an emergency fund? Why are you buying a new car? Is it a necessity or is it just something you want? All of these things are important to ask before buying. Is this the person? Okay, yeah. So this is the original poster that put it to those that are listening to this. Sorry, I forgot to add more details. I'm 21 and I make a little over 30K. Okay, so basically my slave comment earlier is basically correct, right? You cannot be buying a car that's basically what you bring in every year. Okay? That is beyond scary. That is beyond foolish to do in terms of spending your money. Like, I don't really understand why people go down this path where they go car poor, where they literally buy a car basically the same amount that they make in a year. That is so unbelievably stressful, right? Because basically almost all of your money is going to be going to your car. Okay, so they live with the parents. I don't have too much expenses. Only expenses I have would be gas, a phone bill of one. Dear God, a phone bill of 120. This individual has to be like financing their phone too. And groceries are around 250-ish. I currently have a $3,000 emergency fund. Props to you, which sadly isn't much. Hey, $3,000 is more than what I guess like 50% of Americans have, which is zero, right? So keep that in mind. I have a 2013 Nissan Versa that I guess it's not going to last much longer. I had to replace the transmission in 2020 and it looks like it's giving out again. I need a car for both school and work. I think a new car wouldn't give me as much problems as a used one. See, this is kind of a fallacy, right? So a lot of people just assume that them buying a new car would mean that they're going to have a lot less stress when it comes to maintenance. That is not always the case because, one, depending on the type of car, you could face a lot of issues. Take, for example, Range Rovers, they basically break down all of the time. Two, you could find a very reliable 100,000 mile car for very cheap. You can also find a pre owned car that's just a few years old for a lot cheaper than a brand new 2023, 2024 year brand car, right? Like, keep that in mind. Man. Not to mention, you could just end up buying a brand new car and getting a what is deemed or called a lemon car, which is basically there's always something constantly wrong with the car to the point that there's so many recalls or you have to take it to the mechanics at the shop all the time to the point where they basically have to give you another car at that point. But yeah, if I was this individual making about 30K a year, I wouldn't be buying a car like more than $8,000. Like, and that's a stretch. I'd probably be trying to aim to buy a car for $5,000. Now, typically, you could pretty much afford a car about 50% of what you bring in. But this is such a small amount of money that getting to that point really doesn't leave you with basically any room to really do anything with, right? And that's not an insult to this individual, but think about it. $30,000 a year. I don't even know if this is like after tax or pre tax. So she's not really, or he doesn't really got much money, right? You don't really got much money coming in. Like, I mean, let's just say that the 30K is what, like after tax, okay? So, let's see, calculator, $30,000 divided by 12 months is 2,500 a month that they're bringing in, assuming that this is after tax, right? So, minus their expenses right now, so they have minus 120 of their phone bill, which, by the way, again, I think they're financing their phone bill, which is scary. Like, can you not even afford a phone? Dude, like, can you not afford to pay in cash for a phone? Like, you don't need the brand new item, the brand new iPhone or Samsung or whatever. Okay, so 2,500 minus 120, then minus 250 for about the groceries. Okay. So that leaves them with $2,130. Like, now again, they don't have many expenses, but another way to look at it, right? What they could do is save this $2,130 that they're bringing in per month, save that amount of money in like in an account for the next, let's say, 4 to 5 months. Let's say 5 months. Okay, so that leaves them with $10,650. They could put that amount straight up on a pretty decent car, a pre-owned car, but a pretty decent car, right? Or what she could potentially do, or he, or whatever this individual Reddit person, right? What you could do is just literally save your money in a savings account to the point where when your car gives out, right, that 2013 Nissan Versa, when that actually goes kaput, you have this massive cash pile of money that you could just go and buy a car in cash, right? Because it might be 2 months from now, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, when this car actually goes kaput to the point where it doesn't make financial sense anymore to actually spend money to fix it, right? Where like it would actually make more sense for you to just give away the car, basically, for or like take it to a junkyard. Like at that point, you probably have a decent amount of cash saved up, right? But yeah, that's what I do in their position. Put some money into a savings account, save up for a pre-owned car, and just buy it in cash. Because 72 months for a loan on a car is horrible. 5 point something percent is horrible. Buying a brand new car is horrible in terms of like depreciation. Like this is just a bad financial decision on basically literally every facet. Like at every angle of this situation, it's a financially bad choice to go and do it. Like they can't afford it in terms of relation to their income. They really don't understand everything about the potential expenses that they might have, right? And then not to mention they are trying to justify them buying a new car for the assumption that it's going to be more reliable than a pre owned car, which again, that's not always true. Yeah. Feel free to give your thoughts on this. But yeah, I'm thinking around like an $8,000 car in this type of situation, if that. I mean, really, again, 5K. 5K is like the ideal, but this is bad. Let's see some of these other comments. With a 30K income, 25K is far too much car. I agree. Look for something in the 15K range. I mean, technically, yes, you could do that. This individual could do that, but 30K, you're not really working with much. Even though she doesn't really have any expenses now, when she starts having expenses, That basically gives her like no margin to do basically anything. Like, what is more important to you? A car or to be able to live a life? So the rule of thumb is to keep the total of your cars to less than half your gross income so you're not losing too much value to depreciation. Financing for that long, unless you put down a decent down payment, almost guarantees you'll be upside down on the loan, meaning you'll owe more than it's worth. Owing more than a rapidly depreciating asset is never a good idea. Yeah. My personal opinion is that if you need to take 6 years to pay off the car, then you can't really afford the car. That doesn't mean it's a bad deal in an absolute sense. I think it's pretty standard given today's interest rates, but it might not fit your budget. Yeah. Yep, terrible idea. So other people agree with me too. And again, feel free to give your thoughts. But yeah, this is bad. And also, this kind of like scares me too, right? Because like I like that this person is trying to like go out there, put themselves out there to try to like gain some knowledge about like personal finance. But what scares me is that there's probably so many people in this situation that just go and do it. That just literally go and do it, which is sad, right? Because spending or having so much of your monthly income being forced to go to like loan payments to the point where you are pretty much working almost nonstop just so that you could keep up with your payments. Like, who wants to live that type of life, right? That's why I push so much for like people getting debt free and all that kind of stuff, right? Because why would you want to live a life where you are just grinding away just so that you can make your payments, right? Like, that's not a life at all. Oof. Yeah.